Thank you, Julian. It's great to be back to present at the forum today. This is my third presentation. We plan to give regular updates at future forums, so I look forward to speaking to you in the future as well. We are First Hydrogen, and let's get something going on with my presentation here. There we go. I just draw your attention to the forward-looking nature of my presentation, and please review our forward-looking statements at your leisure. Now, as I mentioned, we are First Hydrogen. Simply put, we have a mission to accelerate decarbonization, and we're doing so by applying advanced technology and doing this in a holistic way by combining vehicles on the automotive side with energy, with green hydrogen, to provide a total solution. And that total solution is focused on delivering one outcome, and that's an affordable total cost of ownership, so that we can accelerate the transition of carbon-based fleet vehicles to zero-emission fleet vehicles. That is our sole purpose. And in doing so, we're targeting the fleet market, the light commercial van market, which you'll see more on in the presentation. Now, our holistic model has three key components. The green mobility, obviously, we need the vehicle, so we design and will manufacture and provide the vehicle. The green hydrogen, of course, to fuel the vehicle, and the green powertrain. This is the heart of the vehicle. So each of these components is vital, and in a cumulative fashion, these three components help us deliver a competitive cost of ownership for zero-emission mobility. Now, later in the presentation, I'll give you some updates on our progress, but first, I want to share with you some very exciting news on our markets. So previously, I spoke about the convergence-driven megatrend for hydrogen, and for context, I wish to reinforce today this very important trend. The hydrogen megatrend is here and now, and it's critical for the investor community to be on board with this mega trend and this mega opportunity. The trend is the convergence of multiple factors that on their own are individually important, and when combined provide a convergence of both need and opportunity, and this creates a very rock solid opportunity for investment. And this is what we see as the prime mover for our business and why we're so passionate about it, because we know today the conditions are right to create tremendous value with our business plan. So it's what we're talking about is obviously coupling pollution reduction, energy independence, energy resiliency, which have already been put on a path of tremendous growth as we move into what we call the renewable energy super cycle. And these sectors, such as renewable energy and energy storage, as you're well aware, are already booming. And with this, we are already seeing carbon substitution with the use of hydrogen in the industrial sector in such areas such as green ammonia, steel production, and even cement, to name a few. And against this backdrop, we're seeing very large-scale plans for green hydrogen production and distribution, as hydrogen is clearly recognized as a large-scale energy storage medium and also needed to support decarbonization, where the total cost of ownership is attractive and where the use case is additive to what is possible with alternatives, such as with battery technology on its own. So this mega trend of enabling the solution to the needs and the enabling technologies and the investment environment we have all are creating a massive investment opportunity. And this has really invigorated the hydrogen supply chain, with scale up occurring in both production and application sectors, such as mobility. Now, in terms of market updates, I wish to bring to your attention three key updates, and these will be an update on the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA as it's referred to, recent plans by the European Union with their Green Deal industrial plan, as well as a general update on hydrogen infrastructure. So let's delve into each of these updates because they're very important. The first is on the IRA, and it's very positive news. The IRA was only introduced a mere 6 months ago, and it's basically going to move zero emissions into the fast lane in the United States. And it's really dramatic. And what I would like to draw your attention to is a recent report by the International Council on Clean Transportation. And this report effectively has assessed the IRA impact and is forecasting that the zero emission light duty vehicle sector, which we're participating in, will double its market penetration between now and 2030. So whereas there was a forecast pre-IRA of about a third of the market converting to zero emission, it's now going to be approximately 2/3. So a dramatic shift, an acceleration. And with this, of course, the supply chain and infrastructure necessary to support this transition needs to keep up. So that's one of the key variables that we have to pay attention to. Now, so simply put, we are moving into the fast lane, so buckle up because this is a massive change we have to recognize in the market. Of course, Made in America considerations are being debated as we speak, and the actual implementation language of the IRA will move into formalized agreements in the months to come. But overall, it's good news for the industry. It's good news for the planet. Now, just as a note, pre-IRA, I draw your attention to California. California has always led on decarbonization. And as a note, California already has plans to effectively transition to 100% zero emission in the light mobility sector by 2035. So, and where California leads, many states are already following and signing up to the same program as California. So we have this combined effect of the carrot of the IRA, attractive subsidies and tax credits, with the regulatory requirement to phase out these technologies and to transition to zero emission. So again, it anchors the opportunity, it anchors the business model, and this is why we're seeing so much investment in all aspects of zero mobility right through the value chain. Now, in some respects, the EU has reacted to the IRA, and it's now, as of February 1st, creating its own version of the IRA, underpinned by existing plans and commitments that are already in place, along with new commitments coming. And to quote the European Commissioner, President Ursula von der Leyen, Europe is determined to lead the clean tech revolution by ensuring a level playing field. So in some regards, this is a response to the IRA, but it's also an evolution of the regulatory and strategic direction of Europe to lead in decarbonization. Europe has long championed the need for decarbonization, and this announcement is one in a series that have gone on over the last number of decades. So it's not surprising, but it is absolutely an acceleration of the investment needed to achieve faster transition for our industry to deploy renewable energy and zero emission technology as never before. Nothing like a little competition to spur us on, and it's not a little deal at all. And you have to also love the 4 pillars of the new Green Deal. These pillars are setting a very strong foundation to boost investor confidence in a very systematic way for this long-term transition while ensuring European leadership within the clean tech revolution. And even as recently as yesterday, there was another announcement by the European Union where they are planning to accelerate emissions reductions for trucks with plans on trucks to reduce CO2 emissions by 45% by 2030 and 90% by 2040. So it's moving very quickly. And this move on trucks, again, it's complementary to what we're doing. And I expect it also to create potential opportunities for, increased infrastructure, as well as increased opportunities for vehicles. So this, all in all, is fantastic news. You have our two key markets of Europe and North America, all in a race to decarbonize. And they're doing this by bringing in both programs, regulations, and financial support to ensure that companies like us do our job and get the technology and the infrastructure in place. So now let's have a quick look at what's happening on the infrastructure front. 2022 was a record year for hydrogen additions in Europe, but also in worldwide. You can now refuel with hydrogen in 37 countries. And this is directionally very important because it shows traction on codes and standards, and even getting timely building permits to go ahead and construct these facilities. Essentially, the industry is becoming mainstream in terms of its ability to deploy this fuel, which is relatively new to the market. Further, Europe has big plans to couple mass renewable generation with green hydrogen production by creating a pipeline network across continental Europe and connecting those pipelines to the mass renewable generation sections. The hydrogen backbone plan, the 5-prong plan, taps key renewable regions to address this need long-term, and it's very impressive. And in the US, as you can see from this image here, there are many clusters being identified and developed. They're an earlier stage of development than Europe. However, with the stimulus of the IRA, these clusters are expected to move quickly from feasibility into development. So much is underway. Yet, with all this good news, we have to really put things in perspective. And I just wanted to put up this note, which is a headline from Cal Matters, a California nonprofit. And the main message here again is there's massive plans to get fossil fuel cars and vehicles off the road. However, in doing so, if we were to do it strictly with EVs, California would need to triple its power generation capacity. So that is a massive undertaking. And how fast will that happen? How much capital is needed? Will it be able to go through the regulatory process and get everything in place? It is a significant challenge, we have to note. And this challenge is not unique to California. And we're hearing this from many of our customers. They don't know what is the future in terms of the availability of hydrogen supply, the availability of green electricity for charging. And so there is some uncertainty there. But it is also creating a very significant business opportunity. And our approach overall is to de-risk the uncertainty by providing a platform that can provide an EV vehicle or a fuel cell vehicle, depending on the total cost of ownership requirements and depending on the infrastructure availability and the energy costs associated with that infrastructure, in order, again, to ensure the best value proposition for the fleet customer is in place. So to wrap up on this point, key takeaways. We're seeing huge commitments to green plans, unprecedented. And this is the fast lane, as I mentioned. And this massive acceleration is fantastic news for both the climate and the industry. And so when we look at our plans, when we decided to focus on Europe, the UK, and North America, we're very happy that we picked the right places to do business. And the scale-up opportunities, we need to be quick, we need to be nimble, we need, as an industry, to accelerate along with the challenge. So from a business outlook, tremendous news against the backdrop of our plans. So against that, we'll move on and we'll talk about our progress and plans. Now, we've been releasing details of our next gen design, such as the grille shown here, and we just had a press release on Monday, so I draw that to your attention. More details are coming on this very functional and aesthetic design in the weeks to come. Further, we've been operating our initial vehicles on the leading UK test track as part of our final shakedown procedure before having our first commercial operations in March. So we'll have an update on that just within within a matter of weeks in terms of our plans and progress, where actual customers will be driving this on the UK roads in real world conditions. Now, with what we've done to date, the interest in our vehicles has been very high, and our ongoing conversations with leading fleet operators in our key markets has fully validated our key value proposition on the importance of developing this class of vehicle, the light commercial van, for an early mover fleet activity in the decarbonization of vehicles overall. Some notes of interest. We have 15 fleet operators signed up, and I think we could sign up more if we were able to accommodate the schedule. We've been testing the vehicle since last November. The vehicles have important road certification for commercial use. The vehicles can deliver approximately 500 kilometers of range based on 10 kilometers of onboard hydrogen storage. Now, here's a view of that hydrogen storage on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see that we achieve 10 kilograms with the use of 3 tanks, 2 large ones and 1 small one. What's important here is the tanks are all within the frame of the vehicle to provide the highest level of structural integrity for crash safety. Crash certification of vehicles is a very important design requirement to go into series production. In addition, on the right-hand side, you'll see the fuel cell in the front where the engine would normally be. And this fuel cell system is hybridized with a battery, which is between the fuel cell and the battery storage system. So with this first vehicle, we already have a very advanced integration and a very successful integration at that as we go into the trials. Now, we are also actively discussing trials in continental Europe, and that will be our main focus going forward for 2023. As a further update, we are now also participating in a large Hydrogen Valley type project in Tees Valley in the UK, which is in northern England. And this, we will benefit the overall scale and industry participation. This is a very significant project involving, cars, vans, buses, fueling stations, a complete infrastructure solution. So it's something that we think will get tremendous learning from the ecosystem in order to apply to other opportunities. And it's, as a note, Tees Valley is the UK's largest free port. So there'll be, I think, quite a focus on the transportation of goods and products. So this is a couple images from our press release earlier this week. And again, the idea here is we'll be progressively showing the images and the capabilities of the van. But what we're doing is we have a very advanced design, which is both aesthetic and, more importantly, functionally optimized to provide a common vehicle platform for both EV and fuel cell technology. So depending on, again, on infrastructure, on application requirements, on cost of hydrogen versus cost of electricity, all of these can be taken into consideration by the fleet customer, and they can decide what suits their needs most appropriately. If it's short duration, inner city deliveries, with easy access to charging. They can use the electric platform. If they need more demanding long-range applications or fueling infrastructure or charging infrastructure is a concern, then the fuel cell vehicle would be the vehicle for them. The next slide highlights where this all fits together. Let's take a few minutes to walk through the information here. At the top of the chart was the base electric vehicle we have used to convert for our first demonstration fuel cell vehicle, and it had a range of roughly 100 kilometers. By converting to fuel cells, we increased the range 5 times, 500%. And that's a result of hydrogen storage being able to provide more energy on the vehicle for less weight than is possible with pure batteries. Now, as I mentioned, we are working on a battery version as well, and we do see opportunities for system optimization as well as improvements in battery technology. So our next generation series production vehicle will also have much improved range as a pure battery electric, approximately equivalent to what we're doing now with the fuel cell vehicle. And then the fuel cell version, again, it will outdistance the battery version by having a range of approximately 1,000 kilometers. So again, if you need long range, fuel cell works. If you need quick refueling, fuel cell also works. And if the costs are advantageous for one or the other, we have both markets covered. So we optimize our total addressable market. We de-risk the infrastructure concerns that the customer may have. We provide the best solution for total cost of ownership. Let's now turn our attention to our green hydrogen plans. And just as a summary on our green hydrogen plans, we're doing green hydrogen to support our fleet activities. We will either source the hydrogen to make it easy for our customers, or where that's not possible, we will generate the hydrogen ourselves. Where we are looking at hydrogen generation, we will do so in regions where there is renewable energy available at costs that support the total cost of ownership model. Our initial projects were focused on projects in the 50 megawatt scale, and this is to support local use of the hydrogen. We are focused on cluster projects where the hydrogen will be produced and used within the cluster, within a radius of approximately 150 to 200 kilometers. And so we're very different from the mega projects you're seeing where there's going to be mass exportation of hydrogen to distant markets, such as what is being developed in the east coast of Canada in support of German requirements. So this is an ecosystem solution as opposed to an energy export solution. Our plans will have us develop 3 to 5 sites in the near term. We'll synchronize that with our fleet offtake agreements. And just to give you a feel, here's a typical layout of one of our hydrogen plants. So you can see it's modest in terms of the footprint it needs, yet it will be, at this time, some of the largest infrastructure projects for hydrogen in the near term. Now, it's great to hear that the previous speaker was talking about Quebec, because we are also very proud and happy to be working in the province of Quebec. The province of Quebec has many assets and also has the strategy and the resources in place to support what we're doing. I was just in Quebec last week, and I was at a conference organized by Mr. Bruno Paulette, who's the deputy director at the University Quebec Trois-Rivières, which I'll talk about shortly, with a focus on hydrogen. And what I can say is we're very pleased with the emergence of Quebec as a leader in decarbonization for both EVs and hydrogen pathways, as they are intent on creating a cluster effect for the industry. Quebec has a green economy plan. Quebec has a plan for green hydrogen. Quebec is supporting these initiatives through such organizations as Investment Quebec and Caisse de Depot. And Quebec is also supported by the federal government with upcoming subsidies and tax credits that are anticipated to also keep pace with the US IRA and consistent with Canada's plans and Quebec's plans to phase out internal combustion engine vehicles. This quick snapshot where we are developing our first ecosystem project. It's in the city of Shawinigan. It's in the Montreal-Quebec City corridor. This corridor has some 4 million people residing in it, plenty of markets to serve, and it's right basically in the middle, so we can serve both Quebec City and Montreal. So a great place to locate. Shawinigan is also in what is known as the Vallée de la Transition Énergétique, which is the transition valley for everything zero emission in the province. And the VTE, as it's known, is already a cluster of Bécancour, Trois-Rivières, and Shawinigan. And we heard recently from the previous speaker about Bécancour being a battery hub. Well, it's not just a battery hub, it also has a significant presence with hydrogen, and it's also a major port for exporting to other parts of the world. And I touched on the University of Quebec, Trois-Rivières. We're lucky in that this university already has a significant activity in hydrogen production, hydrogen storage, delivery, infrastructure, fuel cells, and electrolyzers, as well as the battery technology. So we have a leading research institute right down the street from where we're locating, where they'll train the students that we can employ, and we can also work, excuse me, with their professors and programs to help with our own technology needs. So we're very fortunate to have this resource right in the cluster. Further, the Quebec ecosystem is very significant. We already have one of the best test tracks for vehicles. Oh, watching the time here, I got 1 minute left. I got one slide left, Mario. As well as other industry suppliers. And I just draw your attention, Ford and General Motors are already locating in Bécancour for battery production, and this cluster effect will only help us. Finally, in summary, our business plan is holistic. We intend to provide both the vehicle and the hydrogen to make it easy to adopt. Markets are accelerating. We're making great progress. This is a huge billion-dollar market. Stay tuned for future updates. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rob. I think we have time for one question. How do you plan to finance the growth at First Hydrogen, given large investment needed for working capital and CapEx?
Yeah, so we're milestoning our activities, so we provide proof points along the value chain as we create value. There's two elements. There's our internal development. We're accessing public markets for that capital. The infrastructure projects will go through a separate financing activity to source the capital for factories, for facilities. So it's step by step, but there's really a combined approach of public market and infrastructure investors to achieve that outcome.
Perfect. Rob, that was a great presentation. Thank you for giving us the full 360 degrees view on First Hydrogen, but on the legislation that are leading all the way to the development and early adoption for companies of your product. We'll be following the news on your website. If anyone wants to ask more questions, please write them directly on their website. Rob, again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Take care.